Hi there, it's time to use the Wyckoff lens to look at Polygon. And in previous sessions, I've shared that the 0.095 level is somewhere that Polygon may come to test. And indeed, just this week, it is continuing its journey towards that level. It's not an imaginary level anymore if you have been wondering why I was putting out that level in the first place. So these are the key items I covered during the sessions if you're new to my sessions. Let's start with the weekly chart of Polygon. So, as usual, we start with the weekly and then we get to the daily to get to any additional information. What we're going through now is the subsequent test or potentially a spring for the Wyckoff accumulation cycle. And the 0.095, unfortunately, if you look at Polygon's charts, okay, POL I'm talking about, you won't be able to see where I got this line from. You have to go back to Matic, okay, the original call sign of Polygon. Then you'll be able to find a reference. So I'm not sure whether there's still something over here. Yeah, exactly here, right across back in 2021. That's where I get the level from. And we probably can't get it from the week. Be able to retrieve that level. Alright? So, and probably may not be this particular source as well. Yeah, this is where I get it. Okay, you see these three yellow lines. The 0.095 is actually from here, back in 2021 February. And Polygon is returning or coming back to test that particular area. Alright, so back to our new chart and the weekly. So we hope to see a sign of strength, meaning trades with increased volume that goes to test the 0.28 or slightly higher. That's what we hope, but we're still getting through this testing stage. Now, let's bring in some interesting elements for these stages. In addition to just looking at what these stages are, I've brought in some text or descriptions about what's actually happening during these stages. Let's start with the accumulation because we're in the accumulation cycle. So I'll move these distribution cycle explanation across. So during the preliminary support, the very first stage of an accumulation cycle, which we have gone through during February or January all the way to March this year. And it's a panic sell period where the retail or the small fishes trying to get out and the whales started to slowly get in. And panic over period is the selling climax. We see lower volume, lower price spread, and eventually automatic rally that sets the top of a horizontal trading period, the sideways trading top. Okay, you see the subsequent trading, they all, or mostly, with one or two exceptions, below this yellow key level of 0.28. So that's where the automatic rally came in. And then sign of strength, like I said, we want to see, or it actually exhibit a behavior with increased trading volume with a price climb. We haven't gone to the point of the whales, the last point of whales getting in. They are getting in along the way during accumulation. What we're going through now is a period of tests, sequence of tests after tests after tests. And they are tests for weekends versus diamond hands. If majority remaining are all diamond hands and the price can't go any further lower, then the test will be finished, and that's when the price starts to test north again. Okay, we're still going through that period, and hopefully the volume will continue across the past 5 weeks. Initially it climbed until the point last week we see a red cross and the volume declined. This week we're just starting, but the volume is I would say pretty high to start with, you know. Hopefully it gets further down and the price doesn't go too crazily low. At least not below this 0.095 level that I extracted from 4 or 5 years ago. So where does this whale's long go to? Is actually the last point of support stage, where the whales may get in probably the last batch of capital they're going to put in, unless they want to, trigger some bigger actions. So this is the accumulation, what's actually happening. Now gets to the distribution. This PSY period, not the Korean famous guy, the Gangnam Style person, not that. It's actually the preliminary supply where whales actually first started selling. So you see these kind of wicks at the top, or these prices drop. Small fishes like us won't be able to trigger such kind of dip. It must involve big guys, right? They are selling. They were selling. And retail continue to FOMO in. Oh, they say, it is the best time to buy the dip. I missed the initial climb. Let's get in. And that's when they drive the price to a high climax or an all-time high. There can be subsequent late FOMO, like the second test or upthrust. Not that we see in Polygon this round. Okay, so the last round of offloading happens during those periods as well as the last point of supply. Okay, the whales, if they have anything remaining, they're going to continue to sell during this period. So that's pretty much what's going on over the past year or so. Okay, of course, if you have been around with crypto for quite a while, or even since the early days, you have gone through 3, 4, 5 cycles already. Okay, let's get to the daily chart. Here, this I call air hockey table or channel box. I'll explain in a minute why air hockey table. Where we are now, the selling climax may not have appeared yet. So previously we were discussing, would that be a selling climax and an automatic rally will follow? Not that it is the case, because the volume was actually quite high during that period. So what's happening right there was probably the preliminary support stage. Alright, and then the price is actually seeking lower. That's probably where the selling climax is going to end up with or at. However, the selling climax doesn't mean it's the lowest point of the accumulation. So there can be second tests and more tests, and even a spring that drives the price to a very low point just to do the shakeout before the big guys move the price up again. Alright, so all these stages we're still waiting for these stages to happen. I'm putting it here just to show you early. When it happens, we'll plug them into place. There are certainly people getting in this period, and those can be the whales buying before the price reaches the climax. What's important for us here is that the price continues to trade along the stronger side of this air hockey table, meaning the chance of a trend change confirmation is still in sight. If it drops to the weaker side, it's going to get way longer before it edges towards the stronger side and show us a confirmation of trend change. So this point over here, this triangle, is pointing towards the end of the month. Okay, I know the timing is a bit tricky because when we get to 2026, there are quite a bit of incentive depending on which country you are in. May it be taxation reason, regulatory reason, that there may be some good news, okay, or maybe interest rates reason. But end of the year is kind of tricky. It may not be exactly that, or maybe just past the end of the year. So here, if the price continues to trade downwards, I hope to see declining volume. So you see today's volume bar is actually quite high compared to the previous couple of days. So we don't want to see that continue, because if it does, it's definitely going to challenge the 0.095 level. All right, and of course it can go further down, because that's only one line I have taken from the MATIC chart, and you have seen lower levels, just that they are too far in history, over 5 years ago, and people would think, that's not going to happen again, but that's not the case. Okay, even though the October 10th doesn't reach our current level, it stopped at the 0.15 key level, but we know now that the reason I draw more lines for our reference, because things can happen, even though people think 100% it's not going to go below the red. Okay, so there we are. Expect we have to wait for a while for the volume to come down, even if it continues to continue to explore along its path towards the 0.095. Hopefully it's going to finish pretty soon and reclimb to this horizontal trading range between the red key level of 15 cents to the yellow key level of 28 cents. Thanks for joining me. See you in other sessions.